Okay, so I want to take you on a little journey with me today. So I want you to close your eyes and just imagine for a second. It's the year 2012, and you're in a brand new state-of-the-art facility, basketball court, right in center court, right there in London, England. You're amongst 20,000 screaming fans in the stadium. Your country's flag is waving at every corner of the stadium. Camera lights are flashing all over the place. Media is lined up along the sidelines with their cameras ready to go. You're locked arms with your teammates that have been with you on this crazy journey. And the announcer comes on the loudspeaker and says, "Please remove your hats and stand for the singing of the national anthem." It's at that point that your national anthem of your country is playing on the loudspeakers. And at that moment, I looked up and started saying to myself, how did you get here? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to share with you my story. I was 15 years old and I was invited to a senior women's national team training camp in Kingston, Ontario. The coaches at that time had more confidence in me than I had in myself at that time. I did not have the confidence in myself with my basketball abilities to be in that type of environment. I stepped into that environment with a bit of fear that I wasn't good enough, fear that I didn't have enough experience, fear that I was just in a brand new environment. I remember going to my very first practice, and I was so overwhelmed with the amount of information that I had to learn and that I had to comprehend at the time. I remember going back to my room and just crying. I just sobbed. I was questioning myself. I said, am I even supposed to be here? I even questioned whether or not I should go home at that moment. One of the women on the team came to me, and we had an amazing conversation. And she said something to me that was so profound that really carried me through the rest of that training camp and obviously continued throughout my life. And she said to me, just take one play at a time. Really just stay in the moment. And I really, really took that with me, and I use that even today. Sometimes when we look too far ahead or too far behind, sometimes we get too much into ourselves. So I really had to take that piece of advice with me to continue on in my journey. So I didn't make the team that summer, but I really did leave with something I felt that was much more valuable. And that was a dream and a goal and a burning desire to become an Olympian. Those women really, really inspired me. They inspired me with the pride that they had of wearing Canada across their chest and to represent Canada on a world stage. And I really wanted to be a part of something like that. I think all of us get to a point in our lives where we have this dream that we want to accomplish, and we can either go two ways. We can either go full force ahead, or we can decide to lay back in fear. At that point, for me, I decided to go full force ahead. And I decided this is exactly what I want to do. But I think you and I both know, inevitably, when sometimes we go across and we decide to cross that line and say we're going to take on our dreams full force, something kind of just comes up, right? Something kind of comes up. And let me tell you what happened next. I was in my senior year of high school, and I just finished an amazing 4 years in high school. At that point in time, when I was a senior, I was named one of 5 Toronto City All-Stars. I was also given the very first ever award as the Miss Basketball Canada. And I also was the captain of the history-making junior women's national team that was the first junior women's team to qualify in Canada for a World Championships. Things were looking great. And it was at that time also that I signed a full 4-year athletic scholarship to the University of Massachusetts in the NCAA Division I conference at the A10. There was so much expectation on me at that time to take that success that I had in high school and bring it into my career as a student athlete in university. So much so that the A10 conference did their preseason predictions that I was going to be the standout freshman of the year. So much pressure. I didn't even get to campus yet. Talk about pressure, right? So I got to the University of Massachusetts that summer after an amazing high school career. And I stepped onto campus, I went through my preseason, and the first game came, and I didn't play. All of this expectation, all this pressure, and I didn't get to play. My freshman year, I averaged probably about 5 minutes a game. I had to cheer my teammates on from the bench. There were so many people that gave me calls and texts and was like, you know what? The coaches don't know what they have in front of them. You should go to another school and transfer so that you can play. Play at a team that really, really wants you and that's going to give you the playing time that you need. I had a decision right there. Either I was going to listen to those that, of course, they had great intentions for me and that loved me, or was I going to follow my own path? I decided to follow my own path. And so I decided to stay. I decided to stay and I decided not to run. And I decided not to run because I said, you know what? If I run now, I'll be setting the precedent for the rest of my life. That when things get hard, that you can just move on to something more easy and that you won't even have an opportunity to grow. This was one really big lesson that I learned along my journey, is that when you reach a place in your life, when you get to a really hard stop, a challenge, you really, really embrace those challenges because those are the opportunities that allow you to grow. And what I also realized is that once you get through one challenge, the other ones along the way start to get easier because you start to get some tools in your tool belt that you can use to get through some of those challenges. And so, of course, you probably thought that everything was great after that. Absolutely not. My next feat that I had to get through was in 2009. I was finally a part of the senior women's national team, and I just finished my first pro season overseas. And I just had an amazing high school career. All of that stuff was going, amazing university career. All of that was going on, and everything was great. I felt great. I was confident. This was the best I ever felt as an athlete. I saw all my hard work coming together. As soon as I got to the training camp, I turned into that player that I knew that I worked hard to be. I was a starter, I was playing a lot of minutes, and I was doing the amazing things that I knew that I knew that I could do throughout my whole career and that I worked up to that point. And so I got to, that summer in 2009, we were working our way into the world qualifiers. So the world qualifiers was an opportunity for us to qualify for the World Championships in 2010. I was well on my way. I knew I was going to get to that 2012 Olympics. This was just a pit stop that I needed in order to continue on in my journey. So we decided before going off to the world qualifiers that we're going to fly to Cuba and have a 3-game series against the Cuban national team. And so we were in our very last game, the day before we were about to leave to go back home. And we're in the second half. I remember it so vividly. I remember I was on defense. I was standing in the center of the key. I was in help side. The ball was on the other side of the court. The girl on the Cuban team decided to skip it over to my player. I was really, really quick. I anticipated very quickly. I got my hand in the passing lane. I stole the ball, and I head down the other way. I was on my way down the court, dribbling the ball, and I remember seeing a Cuban player coming and just speeding up to try to cut me off. As soon as I was going to take that first step to the rim, she came and she cut me off, and my knee completely gave out. I remember laying on the floor and just screaming in excruciating pain. At that point, I got home the next day, and I got an MRI right away. As soon as I got into the doctor's office right after the MRI, we sat down and we spoke, and he said to me, "You completely tore your ACL off and you crushed a bone in your knee." He said, just from that impact, there's a crush on your knee. And so I said, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm gonna do. We are 3 years out, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. And so he gave me some options, and he said, through the MRI, we just don't know how we're gonna really repair this bone. And so they didn't know how they were going to repair until we got into surgery. And so absolutely the biggest, scariest moment of my life. Thankfully enough, we got through that surgery very, very well. And I was able to come out and get back to the team in 2010 in the summer, and then follow them on to, and join the team onto the World Championships in 2010. Now at that time, I was cleared to play, but I think mentally I just wasn't there yet. I had to learn how to trust my body again, and how to really just have confidence in myself again. I had to learn how to walk and do all those kind of different things and cut and all those things, and all of those things were new for me. So for the leading years going up to the Olympics was a really big opportunity for me to grow both physically, but also mentally and emotionally as well. So we got to 2011, went to the Olympic qualifiers, and we missed our chance at a bid for the Olympics. Thankfully enough, we qualified for the last chance qualifiers in 2012, and we went off to that last chance qualifier. We were in a game against Serbia, and we were so confident we were going to win this game. We knew we were going to win this game. We got into that game, and we lost. Serbia got their bid, and we had one last opportunity. Funnily enough, that one last opportunity against a great Japanese team, it was Canada Day. And we're like, this is a sign. We have to get that last possible bid. Of course, leave it to the Canadians to do it the hardest way. And so we ended up going into that game with the Japanese team, and we fought like crazy. And we ended up coming out with a victory. And that was one of the best moments of my life. Not just because I was going to Olympics, yes, of course, but it really solidified all those things and all those challenges, all those decisions that I made moving up to that point. So, thankfully, I got into the Olympics, and that was one of the most amazing times of my life. And I remember walking into the opening ceremonies, flags were waving everywhere, and I was like, man, I've arrived. I am like a part of this amazing opportunity. This amazing dream has come true. The very single dream that I had always wanted since I was 15 years old, scared young 15-year-old walking into that training camp. I just encourage everybody to have a bold dream and don't be scared to move forward with it. And I always say, you know, sometimes you're not going to hit that bold goal. You're not going to hit that bold dream. But I guarantee you, every challenge that you hit moving towards that goal, whether you make it or not, is going to help you to grow and to learn and to help you in every single aspect of your life after that. So, we're sitting center court. We're standing center court. We have our teammates in arms with us, 20,000 screaming fans, media lined up. Everybody's just ready to go. All eyes are on you. What are you going to do? I say, let's play. Thank you.